Hello, darkness, my old friend. Chase DeLauter's hurt again. Another twinge that's softly creeping showed up right as we were sleeping, and the hope that implanted for this spring took a swing with the sound of soreness.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We laugh so we don't cry, okay? We laugh so we don't cry. This is Locked On Guardians. There are no pulled muscles or soreness here. And if there are, we're still here for you every single day because it is Locked On Guardians, the only daily podcast that covers your Cleveland Guardians, the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. And I am Justin Lada, one of your two co-hosts here. Jeff Ellis is off today, but we've both spent 19 years covering the Guardians minor league farm system as a prospect writer editor, and Jeff does the draft, but he's off today. So you're stuck with just me commiserating about another Chase DeLauter body soreness. Appreciate you guys being here and making today's episode and all episodes of Locked On Guardians your first listen today every day where you get podcasts. Shout out to all the everydayers. Shout out to all the insiders and everybody who's commenting. Got to shout out all of our iTunes reviews too. We got on Apple Podcast, Matthew TC, Dark Fool 89, DH Numbers, and Riley Ham and Tyson P. Miller. Appreciate all of you getting into those reviews. We needed all those. Tell a friend before the season starts, but they've already missed the most important things, right? Later on today's show, we will get through the next exercise of roster projection 4.0 because things have changed a little bit in the last week. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to make an argument for a Guardians prospect to do something that I argued against not long ago against said prospect, but I've changed my mind, and I will tell you why. But of course, we lead off today's news from Guardians camp on Wednesday, including what stood out from their game versus the Rangers. And that game against the Rangers was supposed to feature Chase DeLauter in right field, batting second next to Stephen Kwan, playing center for the first time this spring. And then, about a half hour before the game started, Chase DeLauter was a late scratch from the lineup. It was precautionary with lower body soreness because of heavy on-field activity early in camp. If it was anybody else, we would wait to see more, right? We've heard this story before, though. And I really hate the woe is us kind of attitude, but the best predictor of future injury is past injury. And Chase DeLauter's injury, unfortunately, his history doesn't exactly require you to have psychic powers to predict what's next. And, of course, the Guardians will say, well, it's precautionary. He had a heavy load early in camp. And it's not a big deal until it is. Is it a good sign? Tell me if it's a good sign that position players have been in camp for 2 weeks and they've played 2 games, or at least Chase DeLauter had played in 2 games, and they already had to pull him out of the lineup last minute because of lower body soreness. Is that a good sign? Just asking. And again, if it had been anybody else, maybe we wouldn't have cared. It's not a big deal until it is. This is how it always starts with Chase DeLauter. First, it's precautionary, and then it's, he's working hard to get back on the field, and then 2 weeks goes by and he hasn't played, and then you find out he's going on the IL and he's having surgery and he's got to go to, he's already in Arizona, but he's got to go to Arizona to rehab, or he's going to go somewhere else to rehab. I don't know. Hopefully it's not a big deal, but I think everybody will have to be excused for not taking it as not a big deal given the name and the history. I don't think it's unfair to wonder if there's more. I think it's more of a proven thing at this point, not just for DeLauter, but for the Guardians. You can't, of course, they're going to say it's precautionary because maybe it is right now, but doesn't mean it's going to be precautionary until tomorrow when he wakes up with more lower body soreness and he has to go for tests or his foot falls off. I don't know. Just, forgive us for not believing that it's precautionary until we see the truth further. Got to see the evidence. Let's get into other news from the Guardians game versus the Rangers. Was another loss, not a pretty one, but we don't care about wins and losses. We don't care about results. And before I get into more stuff from this game, what stood out, I know we saw a comment yesterday. Someone said, are we really analyzing games and stats from spring training? No, we're not. We are not. We don't care about the outcome. We don't actually even care about stats. We are looking for the signal through the noise and indicators and things that stand out, different things. Okay, not stats, not analyzing the game and what happened. We're analyzing the signal through the noise. We're analyzing some data. And before anybody else says these guys don't watch games, couldn't even watch or listen to the game on Wednesday. It wasn't on TV, it wasn't on the radio. It was literally MLB Game Day StatCast. So unless you're in Arizona, you didn't see it either. That's all we have to go off of. And I wish I was in Arizona, but it isn't the case. If you'd like us to be in Arizona covering these games, tell a friend, make the podcast more popular so we can make it our full-time jobs. Let's look through some of the notes from the game, though. So Stephen Kwan played his first game in center field, got 3 at-bats. That's a good sign. He'll probably be off on Thursday or go back to left. I don't know. But seems he got through it okay. We had Rocchio at second and Arias at short again. Those two are kind of bouncing back and forth, although I have seen Arias at short a little bit more. So, something to keep an eye on, who's getting the reps where, because that's going to give you an indication later on of the alignment. Jose Ramirez homered again. It was a 40-degree launch angle, so one of those weird spring training home runs, but he also walked. So he's in midseason form, just like Chase DeLauter. And Slade Cecconi had an interesting day too. He was able to throw 30 pitches in 2 innings, pretty solid. 94-97, which is up a little bit from him in the fastball last year, but early velo bumps are kind of normal in spring training, especially for pitchers making their first appearance. So we'll not dive too deep into that. I did see some fastballs that had 17 to 18 inches of induced vertical break from him on StatCast, and for reference, like 20 is good. He was mostly 14-15 a year ago. So that could be the velocity, or it could be a shape change or a release change. Something to watch for his next couple starts to see if that continues to be the case. The other notable thing about Slade Cecconi in his first start was 27% of his pitches were the cut fastball out of his 30. So he only used the cutter 3% of the time last year. Obviously, that's a bigger sample across the full season than it is in one spring training game out of 30 pitches, but that's his second most used pitch in this game was his cutter. So I'll be curious to see if he ends up using that more this season. Didn't have great results last year, but it was okay. The fastball certainly wasn't any better last year. And he got 4 whiffs on the cutter against the Rangers out of 5 swings. And it's important to know, too, the Rangers lineup wasn't really filled with a whole lot of starters. It was a couple guys in the Major League roster. It was a mixed bag of backups and some other dudes, but some of them were major leaguers. Shawn Armstrong made his second Cleveland debut, his first spring training debut, but his first game back since he re-signed. He was too efficient almost. He threw 7 pitches in 1 inning and was done. He was not ready yet to do an up-down where he goes back to the dugout and comes back out. So 7 pitches it is, and sometimes those guys go to the bullpen to finish their outing if they didn't throw enough pitches. He was very sweeper heavy, got a whiff and a called strike on it. Got a whiff on his sinker, whiff on the 4-seam. We did not see the kick change, but the velocity was good. So almost too efficient from Shawn Armstrong, but that's never a bad thing because Trevor Stephan followed him, and he was only throwing 90-91, so that velocity has not come back. And it's important to remember that not everybody's velocity comes back after Tommy John. Everybody says, oh, go get Tommy John. It'll be better for it. Hasn't been the same for Stephan. Everybody wanted Tristan McKenzie to go get it, and his velocity is great, but guess what? He still can't throw a strike, and Trevor Stephan can't throw hard anymore, at least at this point. So you just never know. Yorman Gomez pitched. It's the first time we saw StatCast data for him. He was 96-97, had 16 inches of vertical break on his fastball, a couple of whiffs and a slider, and he got called strikes too. He threw 50% first pitch strikes. We like to see that. And then Franco Aleman also debuted. He threw 95, had good command of his fastball, 4 called strikes and a whiff. We like that. He got a whiff on the slider. He did allow 2 hits and a home run. Again, not against great competition. So you don't love seeing that, but the fastball command, I guess, is a good thing. And he did get some whiffs. So at least it's some progress or something interesting to latch onto, even though the home run he gave up to was a minor leaguer. Steven Perez also didn't face anybody that great, but he had 4 whiffs, 2 on his fastball, 2 on the slider, and he was throwing 95. So that's a better outing than he had the first time around where he was struggling to throw his slider for strikes and just look good in general. All right, not long ago, I had agreed to the idea of preserving Travis Bazzana's 7th year of team control. I have decided no more. If he's ready, he needs to be on the open day roster. We can figure out the rest later. I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. Opening day is almost here for MLB, and you can feel it. Maybe not in Cleveland with the weather, although the snow melted a little bit today, but you hear Hammy's voice on the radio, the crack of Travis Bazzana's bat, another Chase DeLauter injury. We're like in midseason already. Whether it's a breakout rookie division race that goes down to the wire, nothing like being at the ballpark. And getting tickets, that can be a grind, right? You've got surprise fees, prices that jump at checkout. That's no fun. That takes the fun out of trying to go to a ball game with your friends. That's why you want to check out Game Time, the app that gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. And it's how you unlock amazing tickets and experience with just a few taps. You get 100% authentic tickets with the Game Time guarantee delivered on time at the best price. And the fees are included in the price you see. So that's what you pay when you get to checkout. And you can check the app later before the game starts to get better prices. And you can check out zone deals and get your seat viewer. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Baseball is back. Even if you're depressed about Chase DeLauter not being on the field for one game, we'll see what happens. You can still lock in by joining the Everydayer Club, which gets you ad-free episodes of Locked On Guardians and access to our group chat on Discord, where people found out and reacted first to that news. And we debated that throughout the day and the game on Wednesday. So for the next week or so, actually until the end of this week, you can use promo code SPRING for a free month of the Everydayer Club. That's at lockedonguardians.supercast.com. You can find a link in the show notes to get access to that. Travis Bazzana, I'm going to say it now. I don't think he's going to be. I highly doubt it, but I think I'm starting to understand or realize that I want him on the open day roster. I think there's a case to be made that you can let the World Baseball Classic be kind of his finishing development. You know, I've said this multiple times already over the last 2 weeks. He has to go with Team Australia to be a leader and play on the big stage. He's got to be their best player, and he's clearly already ready to go. You know, his at-bats look really good in spring, and he looks like his body's ready to go. Just looks more settled in and confident. Go and let him do something big over there. He'll come back, whether it's in a week or 2 weeks, however long Australia plays for. He's going to play good players. Like he's not going to face Shohei Ohtani, but he's going to face Yamamoto. He's going to face some other good pitchers because they're going to face Team Japan over there. The rest of the pool, not as tough. There's Korea. They've got some good major league starters, but let that be the finishing part of his development. Instead of calling Travis Bazzana up in June or July and, he's got to get his feet wet and his first at bat and figure out where the clubhouse is and acclimate to the big leagues in mid-season. And then you're waiting until August or September for him to finally maybe get a feel for the dimensions, the background, and the clubhouse and the league, and you might even not have a good record at that point, right? Like, who knows what the Guardians record will be if Chase DeLauter is hurt or, God only knows what happens. Maybe they won't be in a good position and you bring him up and he's going to play in an environment where the Guardians don't have much to play for. I still think he'll make his debut no matter what, even if that were the case, but you can get him in the groove by mid-season and get all that out of the way early in the season. I don't care about the weather. Like, what does it matter? He's playing in Arizona right now, and he's going to the World Baseball Classic to play in a dome. The weather is not going to be any better in Columbus. We don't need to see, I'm going to do roster projection again in the next segment, but we don't need to see Juan Brito at second base. Like I have been putting him on my opening day roster the last couple of projections. We don't need to see that. Okay. I know we said, they want to see Juan Brito before Bazzana comes up and maybe we need to see his bat. You know what? I don't want to let one game cloud myself too much, but this is the same thing we saw last spring. The defense wasn't good and the at-bats were not good quality. So let Brito go to AAA or let him play left field because who knows who's playing left field. It's Valera or Kafis or, if DeLauter's going to be hurt, that's open up again. And you can put Brito out there. You don't need Arias and Rocchio both to play second and short. Pick one, play him at short, move on from the other. We've seen a lot of RAs at this point too. And Brito can play in the outfield because clearly, I'm not saying he can't defensively, but you can try him out there. He's already played some out there, but you might as well do it more because who knows how many games you're going to get out of Chase DeLauter at this point. Like, who knows? And I think there's a case to be made to let Bazzana learn from Jose right away. Let him play alongside Jose from the beginning of the season. See how he takes care of himself, shows up at the ballpark every day. I don't think Bazzana needs that, quote unquote tutorial necessarily. I think he gets it already, but those are two guys I think you want in the same room together as much as possible. You can't predict how things are going to look in 7 years. Okay. Travis Bazzana is 23 right now. He'll turn 24 at the end of the season. So he's 23 all year this year, which means he would hit free agency at age 30 going into his age 31 season. Who knows what things are going to look like at that age for him? We don't know. I mean, you can't even predict how things are going to go next season. You might not play any baseball games in 2027. Or if you get a half year, he may not play till again until he's, until 2028 when he's 24 or 25. So you're saying if you don't call up Travis Bazzana until June or July of this year, you see a half year of him, and then we don't see him again until 2028, possibly if there's a lockout and you miss a half season or a full season. And look, if there is a half season or a full season lockout, guess what? He doesn't accrue any service time, so you don't lose that year anyway. Do it now, and let next year fall where it may. And if he gets to free agency at age 30 or 31, those are typically the time the guys break down anyway. And then second baseman, there's a history, especially in Cleveland, of second baseman kind of hitting their wall at those later ages. Remember Carlos Baerga? I know he sort of had some conditioning issues after 1995, but he had to work his way back into baseball, and he was never the same. Jason Kipnis after 2016 was never really the same either. He had injuries and he hit that wall. Second base is a position where there can be a lot of attrition. So you don't know what it's going to look like by then, but who knows? And maybe, I'm not saying this is definitely going to happen, but Jose Ramirez has figured out life in Cleveland's pretty good as far as the community, the ballpark, the fans. The money is still pretty green, even though he's not making as much as he would somewhere else. Maybe that convinces Travis Bazzana to develop some loyalty to Cleveland. He wanted to be the number 1 overall pick. He wants to put Australia on the map. Can you do more to put Australia baseball on the map in California or Seattle as you can in Ohio? I don't really know. And if DeLauter is hurt, if that is the case, if he can't play to open the season, Bazzana being on the roster helps you combat that a little bit, to not blocking prospects and committing to being young. I'm sorry, but I'm not letting Bazzana get blocked by Arias or Rocchio at second base. Move one to short. Don't block Bazzana for the first 3 months. Brito can go somewhere else. And not that the Guardians or any team really should be making decisions based on fan sentiment. No, it's not a popular opinion, but let's say DeLauter is hurt and can't play on opening day. Think of how excited the fans will be on opening day to hear Travis Bazzana, walking up to, I come from a land down under, like Chase DeLauter did from Country Roads in the playoffs. That'll ease the sting a little bit, and Travis Bazzana has had a pretty good spring. It's a very small sample size. So I want to point a couple of these things out so far. He's only got a chase rate of 6.3%. It's 9 plate appearances, but those are stats that can get sticky quickly. I don't know about 9 plate appearances quickly, but it's one of those stats that kind of normalizes quickly. He's got a 100% zone contact rating so far, a 91.7% contact rating overall. His exit velocity so far in spring training is 96.5. O'Neal Cruz led baseball last year at 95.8. That's higher than Aaron Judge, Ohtani. And I'm not saying Bazzana is going to keep that up, obviously, but it's a good start. And that is a stat that can become very sticky quickly. And even if we say that the Arizona air adds a little bit of exit velo, it adds a little bit of distance to the ball, let's knock it down to, let's say, 92 on average. Even at 92% or 92 miles an hour, we're still talking Ronald Acuna, Junior Caminero, Michael Bush, Matt Chapman, Corbin Carroll, Gunnar Henderson. Would you take those exit velocities? I would. I think he's in good shape. I think there's a reason to put him on the roster. Do I think the Guardians will do it? Probably not. Maybe they can work out some sort of pre-arbitration, pre-debut extension to get him those back half years. I don't know. He doesn't necessarily need the money, but maybe he does. Maybe he wants that security. Maybe he can cash in early. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. I would do it. Let me know what you think. I'm pretty sure we can all agree the Guardians probably won't, but we can hope, right? We can hope. I think we have to hope given the latest Chase DeLauter news. I think that's all we have to hang on to. All right. I don't know if I can project Travis Bazzana on the roster since I'm trying to predict the future 4 weeks from now, but I will tell you how I think things have changed for roster projection 4.0 coming up next. Keep up to date with all things Guardians during spring training, the World Baseball Classic. Hit the bell on YouTube. You get our daily episodes, a notification set right to your phone when videos are posted. Reaction videos, prospect videos. We're going to do some of those as we get to our top 30 prospect list. We've got some other exciting stuff coming your way as far as the network is concerned. A fun list of sorts that it's coming out soon. So you'll want to stay on top of that and get notified by hitting the bell on YouTube and auto download on all your favorite audio platforms as well to keep the show in your feed. You know, I'm going on a flight when you're probably listening to this, and I have some podcasts downloaded for me to listen to on the flight. Maybe you're the same person that wants to do that. So it's always in your feed, and that helps the show as well. All right, we're going to wrap up today with roster projection 4.0 because we've had some changes this week, right? We've got Rhys Hoskins in the house and some injuries to talk about and roster decisions that have to be made. So let's talk about those. Remember this, opening day, once again, I want to say it. I'm always going to say it when we do this exercise. Even if, let's say, Travis Bazzana is on the opening day roster, if there is some sort of baseball god that wants to give Cleveland a break for a change, the roster is still going to change by the end of the year. It's not going to be the same in April as it is in September. Injuries, we know all that all too well. Call-ups, trades, whatever. Maybe there'll be a trade. I don't know. But let's get into it. Nothing has changed for me. Actually, one thing has changed for me in the rotation. I am going to say Parker Messick makes the rotation out of camp. I think he's going to be the fifth starter. Logan Allen still has an option. He's going to be in the World Baseball Classic with Team Panama. I think the time away, I think the Guardians will go with their best rotation. They already had Messick up last year. I think his stuff is good. I think we're going to see Parker Messick open in the rotation. That's what I'm going to predict right now. I'm going to go Bobby Williams, Cantillo, Slade Cecconi, and Parker Messick with Logan Allen going to AAA. Or maybe Logan Allen goes to the bullpen, and here's why. Looking at the bullpen, it's an 8-man bullpen again. We have Cade Smith, obviously, who we're going to talk more about in a week or so with this list coming out that I'll have a lot to say on. Hunter Gaddis, Shawn Armstrong, who looked great. Matt Festa, who's also pitching the World Baseball Classic for Team Italy. He'll be in the fold, I think. Tim Herron's pitched this spring already, and he was okay in his first outing. Not great. Connor Brogdon's out of options, so I'm almost positive he's going to be on the roster. He looked okay in one appearance, not so great in the other. We mentioned yesterday that Peyton Pallete was dealing with shoulder fatigue, but they say they're going to clear him for game action relatively soon. So I don't have any, we don't have a whole injury history with him. I know he had Tommy John in college, but we don't have that pain of always thinking he's going to be injured in Cleveland yet. So, and he's a Rule 5 guy. So I think if he's healthy, he's coming north with them. The other question is, I think, is Eric Sabrowski. I had someone ask me today about what's the news on Sabrowski, and he hasn't pitched yet. And as far as I can tell, he is not on the schedule to face the Mariners on Thursday. So if they're slow playing him again, who knows? That could open up the door for Colby Allard to get on the 40 and be the other lefty in the bullpen, or maybe it's Logan Allen. Maybe Logan Allen goes to the pen. Now, it probably makes sense to send one of Messick around to AAA because they need the depth. You do have Peterson and Nikhazy, and then there's also obviously Cal Steven, but he hasn't had any AAA experience yet, so I don't think they're going to want to rely on him as depth right away. And we don't know what they're going to do with the Espino. Gomez is on the 40, but you could use Allen in the bullpen at least to start. Maybe they did it with Cantillo last year, and he had options. So We'll see what happens there. But it could open the door for Kolby Allard, who came back because he thought there'd be a chance for him to either make the roster or showcase himself in spring training. My favorite word, obviously. So who knows? And Colin Holderman, I mentioned before, his first couple outings have been rough. He's getting hit hard and not by great competition. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I have Bo Naylor, obviously. We have David Fry, Austin Hedges catching. That helps a lot. We have Manzardo, and obviously Rhys Hoskins, I think, is going to make the roster. Right now, the Guardians already have a full 40-man roster. So how are they going to get Rhys Hoskins on the roster? I had originally said that makes Jonathan Rodriguez expendable, but AAA outfield probably is Khalil Watson and Petey Halpin, right? And Valera has an option. Maybe Fairchild goes to AAA if he doesn't make the roster to start the year. And, in the event Chase DeLauter does miss time again, like he's already, sore after 2 weeks of spring training, I think Rodriguez might survive. You could put, like I said, you could put Brito in the outfield. Schneemann and Martinez can both play the outfield. Kafis can play the outfield. So it's not like you don't have options, but, Rodriguez does have an option left. So I could see him surviving another year like this. So I think the easy thing to do to put Rhys Hoskins on the roster is to move Andrew Walters to the 60-day injured list. Now, somebody else can get hurt between now and then. Maybe Rhys Hoskins goes on the 40 for Chase DeLauter, 60-day IL. Not hoping it, but, you never know. But Walters is still looking to near throwing a bullpen. He hasn't even done a live BP yet. So I could see the Guardians slow playing him because his recovery was like a 10 to 12 month thing. I think he's 8 months. So there's a good chance he doesn't come back to May anyway. And you can backdate it. So I think that could open up a spot. And then I think you just pick between one of Rocchio or Arias at short. I mean, I said it before. I'd rather have one at short and one of Bazzana on the roster. And then, Jose and Schneemann. If you don't keep Rocchio or Arias, if one goes, Schneemann becomes your backup shortstop, which is fine in a short, in a pinch, not necessarily every day, but it's not that bad. Quan and left for now or center will predict DeLauter's on the roster as long as his legs survive spring training. And then Angel Martinez, I think, makes the roster. And then earlier in these projections, I was also saying maybe it'll be Fairchild. Maybe it'll be Rob Refsnyder. I was hoping for that in one of the versions too, right? Or putting Brendan Donovan out there. I don't know. Didn't work out. I thought they might move on from Nolan Jones during the spring, but given DeLauter's soreness already, I wouldn't be surprised if Jones. I'd be surprised if Jones didn't make the roster. I think they're just gonna give that a shot because they need the depth. They want that. That's your fallback, right? And he doesn't have any options. So that leaves Kafis and Valera, and again Rodriguez and Fairchild to battle for an outfield spot. And if you only keep 4 outfielders, if you don't keep Valera, Kafis, if you keep 4 instead of 5. You still have Schneemann who can play the outfield, right? And Fry can play a little bit of outfield. So you have other options out there as well. You can, and this is the lineup I came up with for right-handers. You put Quan in center for hitting first. You can have DeLauter in right hitting second, Jose hitting third, Manzardo DH cleaning up, Naylor hitting sixth, Nolan Jones hitting seventh, and then your shortstop and second base can hit 8th and 9th. Or, if we got so lucky that Travis Bazzana makes the roster, you can go Quan, DeLauter, Jose, 1, 2, 3, Manzardo cleaning up, Hoskins hitting 5th, Bazzana hitting 6th, Naylor hitting 7th, Jones hitting 8th, and your shortstop, Rocchio Arias, hitting 9th. And against lefties, you can just plug in Martinez hitting 2nd. You can move Hoskins to the cleanup spot. DeLauter 5th, protecting him because he's been a little better against lefties than Manzardo. You can split them up with Fry catching. Manzardo hits 7th, Rocchio and Arias hit 8th, and you can have Bazzana hit 8th and have Rocchio or Arias hit 9th, whoever your shortstop is hit 8th. So you got some balance in the lineup that way. Let me know how you're feeling about the Chase DeLauter soreness. Are you ready to jump off the cliff and say, here we go again? Or maybe you're going to be cooler about it and just say, I'll wait until I hear the actual news. Maybe you'll be one of those. I'm probably somewhere in between, not jumping off a ledge, but also not trusting that things are just A-okay because we're 2 weeks into spring training and he's already got soreness. That's just not a good sign for a guy with his injury history. Let me know how you feel about that. Let me know what you think about the case for Travis Bazzana on the opening day roster. And let me know what you think about roster projection 4.0 and the changes I made there. Again, with Hoskins, with Nolan Jones being on there. Maybe you have Allard in the bullpen. Maybe you have Allen in the bullpen. Maybe you have Messick in the rotation. Those kind of changes. Let me know what you think about that. Jeff will be back with you to take you into the weekend. Make sure you subscribe so you get all the latest episodes from me or Jeff and I at the same time. If you never miss an episode, the Everyday Club is built for you. Get Locked On Guardians ad-free. Members only Discord access included. Go to LockedOnGuardians.supercast.com to join the club and use promo code SPRING. You have till the end of the week to take advantage of that. Jeff will be back tomorrow. He's going to talk about, I know he'll talk about what stood out from the game on Thursday against the Mariners for the Guardians. And he's going to talk about different hitter archetypes. So he's going to go through the buckets of hitters that are out there, the profiles, and try to put all the hitters on the Guardians roster into that too. Next week, we'll come back with our top 30 prospect rankings. We have to do our prospect draft. Of course, we'll give you the news from Guardians camp and the spring training games every single day. We're heading to 36 days left until the home opener. Who is war number 36 for the Guardians? Well, right now it's Cade Smith. Pretty good, right? Before that, it's been an interesting number worn by Cleveland players. We have the great Bill Selby, the moniker of the Selby as Godcast, obviously. Jeremy Guthrie, that was a good one. Paul Bird, Thomas Neal, who I was way too high on at one point. Preston Guillemette, same thing. I thought he was going to be a good reliever. Our boy Jesus Aguilar, Yandy Diaz, two guys the Guardians probably could have used at some point. Yeah, shout out to Tyler Clippard. He was on the roster at 36 at one point. JC Mejia, who gave us David Fry. That's cool. And going way back before that, of course, you have guys like Herbert Perry, who was a platoon bat, by the way. Platoons were cool even in 1995. Okay, don't let me tell you otherwise. Platoons were still happening in 1995 on a good Cleveland team. Oh, by the way, Albert Bell, 1989, also wore 36 for a brief period of time. Let me know who your favorite number 36 is. There's a lot. You got the Cy Young winner, Gaylord Perry, Rick Waits, wore it forever. Pretty famous number. Number has had a lot of success in Cleveland. All right, I'm going to get out of here. You guys enjoy the weekend. Talk to Jeff about Guardians baseball tomorrow. And fingers crossed that Chase DeLauter's lower body soreness is healed by the time you listen to this. In the meantime, thank you for tuning in, and go Guardians, go. Darkness.